somebody was asking me about some of my favorite experiences as an actor. And I have been very blessed. I have had a wonderful, exciting career as an actor before I became a full-time coach. I did a television series called Savannah, and it was for Aaron Spelling, who was just a delightful man in the entire Spelling organization.
I'm Aaron Spelling, well, better known as Tori Spelling's father. Thanks for joining us tonight on the WB television network for the debut of our new series.
And Robin Lively and Jamie Luner were my co-stars in that. And we were young, and when we went out to Atlanta, we were all flying first class together, and everybody thought we were flight attendants in training because they didn't understand why these young, giggly, silly girls were all in first class, so excited to fly. When we arrived, when we started filming the series after we got picked up and it went to series, there had been a hurricane that had gone through Atlanta, and Hurricane Opal. And the hotel we were staying at had intermittent power, and there was just stuff blown everywhere. It was just a mess. But the elevator started to work again, and I was there with my husband. Yes, I've been with my husband that long. Very unusual in this town, I know. And the elevator doors opened, and in there was the actor who's playing my father, Ray Weiss, who is also in a show called Twin Peaks, being a very murderous dad. And my husband, the doors opened and he was like, "There's Leland Palmer." And he's like, "No, I'll get the next one." And Ray loved that story. He loved that my husband was too scared to get on an elevator with the actor who was playing my dad. All of the actors on that show were wonderful. George Eads was my husband. We killed him in the pilot, and then he tested so well and people loved him, people might remember him from CSI, that they brought him back as his twin. And then I got to faint when I opened the door and there he was. I've been able to travel the world because I was an actor. As a coach as well. So as an actor, I went to Berlin and I filmed a movie called Terror in the Mall. Silly name, but fun movie, great experience. Again, wonderful people that I got to work with, both in front of and behind the scenes. We were submerged. They built a whole set of like a mall, and then they flooded it. It was a big water tank. That's why we filmed in Berlin, because I believe at the same time the other big water tank was in Ensenada and being used by Titanic. So apparently at a certain point, if you spend more time in the water than your 98.7 degree body, you are gonna get hypothermia. And there was the day where I got hypothermia so badly that they took me in an ambulance off to the hospital. And I had water in my booties. I was in a wetsuit underneath my clothes. And I kept saying, "Wasser in the Boot." And they didn't understand because that's how bad my German was. Maybe because I was shivering so much. So I remember taking my shoe off and pouring it in the ambulance and pour it out. They took good care of me, warmed me up. The whole production really worked hard to, when you've got hypothermia, you kind of don't know it, right? It's kind of telling you you're okay. So I'm like, no, I'm fine. I can keep filming until I couldn't anymore. So, I mean, a lot of that was on me, but the entire production was so much fun. I got lost doing some sightseeing on the weekends, and the ambassador from Belgium saved me and gave me a ride home from Potsdam. We filmed at Babelsberg Studios, which is legendary. Marlene Dietrich filmed there, and all of the greats, German greats filmed there. That was just so wonderful. As a coach, I've been able to work in places like Cuba. So much fun. It was a very short window of time when we were able to film there, and we were there during that time, and it was a wonderful cultural experience. The people were so fun and loving and welcoming. Yes, the regime was a little oppressive, but it was an amazing experience. As well as, I can't talk too much about it yet, but as a coach, I got to work all over Europe, and most recently on one film, including 3 weeks in Venice, Italy, where I got to take a vaporetto to work every day. Sometimes I just walk because it wasn't that far. Swim in Venice Beach, which I live very close to Venice Beach here in California, so it was nice to swim in the other Venice Beach. Not the canals, the other side of the Lido. I was filming a movie called Tornado. I got to do a lot of disaster films. That was part of my era. There's another one, I'll tell you about that next. And it was Bruce Campbell and Ernie Hudson and I. And the tornado comes, we've got to go to the tornado shelter. I was the uptight woman who wanted to shut down all their funding until I fell in love with Bruce Campbell, what's not to fall in love with. And then I could see the importance of their work. So we're in the tornado bomb shelter, which is, it was all the set, but they've got the giant wind fans and everything, and things are blowing, and I kind of get blown into it, and so I'm sitting on the bench with Ernie Hudson, and Bruce is up at the top, and he's waving people in to come, get shelter, come be saved. And at that moment, Ernie, during the take, recognizes the camera was on Bruce, and the wind was blowing. He recognizes Bruce from the Evil Dead movies. He hadn't put it together before that moment, but seeing him in that angle, up, yelling, doing the things, he starts hitting me. Ernie goes, it's that guy from the Evil Dead movies. That was so much fun. It was so fun to see him in this discovery moment. Really wonderful people. I was doing a movie once where a woman was trying to kill me, and it was late at night. We were doing late night shoots, and so I kind of fell asleep on the gurney, and I woke up when the pillow was placed over my face to kill me. I didn't die, either on set or in the movie, but I got to fight it a little bit. That was quite a surprise. That was a lot of fun. I've been so lucky to have production pick up plane tickets for me for all over. Got to shoot a movie in Australia on the Gold Coast with snakes. And there are so many snakes in Australia, but they don't allow you to bring in your California snakes. So the movie had to do with rattlesnakes. So when I came back to the States, we had 3 days of me filming in a truck with live rattlesnakes. And turns out you can't really extract all the venom from them, so you sew their mouths shut, which I figure's gotta make them really mad. But there was somebody there to make sure the snakes were okay. Not sure if there was somebody to make sure I was okay, but the snakes were well looked after. No, they were wonderful. But I walked into the building and I was so naive. The first thing I thought of is like, is it raining outside? Because of all the rattles going nuts in there. Oh, that was fun. And also, again, the actors that I was working with down there made wonderful friends and wonderful experiences. My character was driving, and it was supposed to take place in California, but we were shooting in Australia, so a lot of times they would put just a black cloth over the steering wheel that was on the right-hand side, and then you'd have a fake steering wheel on the left-hand side that you're driving, as if you were in the States where we have left-hand drive. Anything else? Wasn't while filming, but in Australia I got a leech right away. I have a knack, but I had so much fun. The things that I've gotten to experience, when I was working on Terror in the Mall, the one in Germany, they gave us scuba diving lessons so that we could scuba dive. I also got to go up in a helicopter. I did a Western. I got to go horseback riding. An amazing life experience that I got to have was I got to fly with the Blue Angels. I have 2 sons and a husband, and I just like to go like, was that an F-18 I went up in and pulled 7.5 Gs, or was it more? Did I almost go the speed of, we went so fast. Apparently, I have the constitution of a pilot. So I didn't throw up, which I guess a lot of the people do, but it was close. I'm just gonna say, one of the most amazing experiences. This is another reason I always tell actors that are starting to really make it and get some traction to hire a publicist, because you get to have some really fun experiences. One of my very first jobs, I actually got my SAG card on a candy commercial. Don't know if I should say which one, but I learned the power of a spit bucket because I ate a lot of those, and I still won't eat that particular candy, and that was a very long time ago. And then my second SAG job was Doogie Howser, and we filmed on the Fox lot. And I didn't know at that point that they didn't feed you. I thought there was catering and you had lunch, and everybody was expected to go to the commissary then. This is the olden days. And I barely had enough money to get myself anything to eat. And my character had a cast on their leg. So I had to kind of hobble. I could walk on it. I think somebody gave me a ride in like a golf cart to the commissary to get my French fries or salad or whatever it was that I bought. Oh, that was fun. It really was a lot of fun. I'm telling you, it's a really wonderful experience. If you study with me, it's all about what the pain is that the characters are going through. But the actual filming process and working with this group of actors and producers and all of the people behind the scenes should not be painful. It should be a really wonderful, supportive environment, and I have been lucky to have that almost every time I've worked. One of the things about me having been an actor for so long and a working, successful actor for so long is I can hopefully help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I encountered. I understand what it's going to be like for you to be doing screen tests and testing for network and all of these sort of experiences working with a green screen. So I can impart those to you and you don't have to make a fool of yourself. Like on my very first movie, when I went to punch somebody and I actually went, pow! I made the sound. I made the sound like I was punching somebody. That was embarrassing. Never did that again. Maybe I should just have a whole video of ways that I've embarrassed myself on set, because there's quite a few. I was doing a movie once, this was really interesting, where I hear the director and the producer are arguing about how I'm doing bad stuff. I'm not a good person in this movie. I'm killing a lot of people. But this one person that I had in my car, and then I have to drag him into the house. And they were like, how are we going to move the body? How are we going to do this? And I was like, why don't I just move the body? And they were like, no, you can't do that. And we need to be able to show it. I was like, I can do that. And they were like, and I was like, and then I moved the body. I didn't go the whole way, but I did it enough that they could just cut to me dragging him out of the car and then dragging him into the house. So sometimes people think you can't do things that you can do. I wouldn't do my own stunts though. You know, you can get talked into doing things that maybe you shouldn't do. I once had a stunt double that was a very different body type than me. So it's very interesting when they cut to those things. Also body doubles, like showing body parts that aren't mine. It's like, oh, okay, that's nice. One of my first big regular jobs was I was on a soap opera. And my first day on the soap, I was so excited. And this, again, in the old days of soap operas. I've done a soap opera more recently, and they do block and tape. You're going to rehearse it, do it, and then they're going to film it right away. Back in the old days, we would do 4 steps. We'd do a rehearsal, a blocking rehearsal, a dress rehearsal, and then we film it. So you wouldn't film until the very end of the day. And I went to my co-star's room at, 8 o'clock in the morning or something, and knocked on the door and was like, you want to run lines? And she'd been sleeping clearly. And she was like, yeah, no, we got all day to do that. I'm going back to sleep. I was so embarrassed again. I was like, oh, okay. I was just so eager and wanted to run lines, so yeah. I also filled in for somebody on a soap opera once, and it's like an old trope. Maybe you haven't seen it since soaps aren't quite as ubiquitous as they were. But so I was filling in for the actor. And so at the top of the scene, they have a voiceover where they say, today, the role of will be played by Shannon Sturgis. And I was attacking a guy that I had felt had come into my house that I didn't know who he was. So I had a baseball bat. And I was like, what are you doing here? But I had to wait. Today, the role will be played by Shannon Sturgis. What are you doing here? I thought that was a very fun moment. If you've never seen a movie called Soap Dish, it's a good laugh. I'm not in it. It's just a funny movie about the making of soap operas. As is Tootsie, one of all-time great movies. Let me know if you want to hear more stories. Because I'm like an old lady who can talk all day about what I used to do back in the olden days of acting. If you liked this video, I hope you did, then you might like 7 things I wish I'd known when I started my career. I think I'm going to try to put it on the screen for you. I will see you next week for our new video. Come back, subscribe, like, comment. I love your comments. I really do. I read them all. Experiences. Gosh, what was the movie that I said I was going to get right back to that was so much fun? Well, oh! and a successful working actor for so long. Maybe I should say that again.